Greetings! This is Mordor and the Depths of Dejenol by Vane. Yeah, I totally screwed up. Okay. So, let's have a look. Jacks. Golta. Love. And Onyx Black Stuff. Okay. Now. Just want to say, this will be the last block of recording. I've decided that this will be the end of the series. That's you. Simply because, I mean, this is getting extremely repetitive. Not that I mind repetitive, but with my best party currently dead on level 5, you know, it's going to take some time to train anyone up to go and retrieve them. And you've pretty much seen most of the game right now. So I'm gonna end this series probably 4 more episodes of this, because I tend to record in blocks of 4. Sometimes it goes up to 6, it depends how I'm feeling. But especially for Mordor, I tend to do blocks of 4. Especially if it's just kind of grinding like this. Mordor is very easy to make content for, that I have enjoyed, but like I said, when that content's getting a bit repetitive, sometimes you just got to decide, do I really want to? I mean, it's not like there's a story to Mordor in that sense, so I mean, clearly I've not shown everything in the game, but at the same time, well, that was a waste. Never mind. Yeah. So it's been some interesting times for the channel. Like I said previously, my channel has sort of exploded over the past couple of months. Mostly thanks to my arena Let's Play. And I've recently gained lots and lots of new subscribers and been getting lots and lots of new impressions. As you know, sometimes, especially when during the quiet periods or I've got something on my mind, I tend to use this as a sort of audio blog just to get things off my chest. Who's got the most money? 9. It's going to be you, isn't it? Okay, I'm prepared for some noises. And we are back. Yay. So, yeah. Anyway, so I was, as you may know, if you followed my, if you've been following my arena Let's Play, you will know that I discussed some controversial topics, and I've been getting some, well, I've been getting some dislikes. Now, interestingly, you are not good, are you? Interestingly, I commented on the fact that I got my first dislike on a video, and I noticed because it showed up that I had 50% likes. Well, I've actually done better than that. Now, counted there, because I actually got a video that has 0% likes, because it's only had one response to it at this point, and that was a dislike. So yeah, and interestingly, it came with a comment. And I'm not entirely sure what to make of the comment. But from what I gather, it seems that somebody was not happy with the fact that I more or less outed myself as being trans, being a trans woman. I mean, so yeah. I mean, in the context of everything that's going on with J.K. Rowling, it's kind of important, and it's on my mind a lot. Anyway, it seems that somebody was annoyed that they found my channel and it turns out that they found the arena that they were looking for, because apparently there's a content shortage for that. But it turns out that I was doing it, and I'm a trans woman, so yeah, I'm not entirely sure what to make of the comment, to be honest. I think it was supposed to be a insult, but I'm not sure that quite landed. Truth be told, and apparently I was called a soyax, whatever that is. I mean, I had to look it up on. I had to look it up to find out what that was. Couldn't find anything for that term specifically. But apparently, and the closest thing that I could come to was soy boy. Which is apparently an insult for a man that's perceived to be lacking in masculine tender qualities, apparently. And the irony is I'm scratching my head and wondering how that's an insult when I'm a trans woman. Now, maybe it's because it's supposed to be that they're asserting that I'm a man, not a woman as a trans woman. You know, maybe that's what they were getting at. But the bit that is like that's defining more or less is that lacking in masculine qualities, which is kind of important for a trans woman, to be honest. It's kind of the point. So it's like, yeah, thanks for that. Still, a comment's a comment, and if it gets me through the algorithm a little bit, then so be it, you know. Just I found that a little bit bemusing. The other thing as well is, I mean, it's an interesting insult, to be honest. Soy boy. Because soybeans were what they used to make tofu, which is a meat replacement. So essentially, according to someone, a soy boy is basically saying you're a man that lacks meat. Which obviously meat is another term for male genitals. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of the point. Anyway, I mean, that wasn't just the whole coin, it was just one part of it. The other one was because I was defined as a soy boy, or a soyak. Like I said, I can't be entirely sure that they're the same, but it's the closest I got when I looked for it. Who doesn't understand Rowling? It's like, hang on a minute. No, I pretty much do understand Rowling, thank you very much. Her entire argument is based on fear of trans people, and particularly the fear that trans people are eroding women's rights. Her rhetoric has helped enable an increase in trans hatred. So yeah, and as much as she may or may not have intended that, that's what happens. She's platformed with people who've shared that and not countered it. And then she went and decided that her next novel absolutely had to feature a trans woman who was a rapist, which was basically a story about her fear as the antagonist. So at that point, if you're writing a book about it, it's hard in context of it's hard to just start going around and saying, look, she doesn't mean any sort of transphobia. It's like, no, it's pretty obvious at that point. So, but yeah, I will say this though. So it's interesting. Interesting that I've had some backlash to me essentially coming out again, because I'm pretty sure it's not the first time I've actually come out. It's sort of, most people wouldn't know from my voice. When I'm talking about games, it just very rarely comes up at all. So, shock, flame bolt. Let's switch to flame bolt. So yeah, it's just, wow. So yeah, like I said, it's not the first time I've come out. It's not the first time it's come up. Probably the first time. I'll swap those over that it's hit a channel. It's hit my channel as it's reaching out to more people. So that is probably a bit different. But on the same free text, not everything about it has been bad. I must have I feel like giving a shout out to another commenter. Yeah, okay. Must have done you then. Yeah. But going by the name of Ben, I can't remember your username. I just remember Ben, who actually had quite a long discussion on the about Rowland's viewpoint and trans issues. I believe in the comments he's a male nurse, so he's like, you know, being in what was considered a feminine role, because this is quite often the case with male nurses. People don't expect men to be nurses, even after equality. You know, it's still not expected. Right, for what equality is, you know. So yeah, generally the tone was respectful, and I must have a shout because I mean we had a long, good conversation, and I could easily have spoken much more at length for a topic than I did, and positively, in fact, about said topic, simply because my background, my academic background, and I know I've mentioned this before, is in best way to describe biosocial psychology. Basically, it's social psychology mixed with biology. That was the focus I settled on in the end. So that makes me probably one of the few people that have a background in both social sciences and in the so-called hard sciences, natural sciences. Both with biology, not just biology. I mean, the foundation units cover everything from physics, chemistry, quantum mechanics. You know. Basically are grounded in everything apart from, say, arts and humanities, and the only reason I haven't done a lot on them is because I couldn't fit them into my degree. In fact, I remember getting moaned at by the Open University when I took my degree because I was taking too many foundation courses, and they're like, you know, you do realise that most people with degrees are supposed to specialise. Okay. And it was only because I enjoyed the social sciences, having never really had a chance to do it at school, and found pretty much my niche, as it were. But yeah, the interesting thing about that, because I mean, I think what really appealed to me most about the social sciences is that it covers epistemology, I believe that's how you pronounce it, the philosophy of knowledge and knowing, which is basically the area that covers discussing about the scientific method, amongst other things. And that gave me an insight into how people think on a fundamental level. I mean, sort of the evolution of intelligence, which is something that was right in my wheelhouse, simply because, I mean, I am a gamer, there's no doubt about that, and I've always had an interest in games. I've always had an interest in learning, and so kind of how learning about how we learn, you know, in particular the role that games can play in how we're learning, has always been of interest to me. Ever since I kind of picked up a DM screen really and discovered tabletop role playing, because, and this is a simple, in the context of world building and understanding game design and being a GM, you pretty much need to learn everything. The wider your experience is, the better, because it means that pretty much you can know what you're talking about. I mean, regardless of what's going on, and you have pretty much a background in everything that you can use for world building. Fantasy authors are tend to be quite similar. I mean, you only have to. I mean, I'm currently reading Terry Pratchett's official biography by Roy Wilkins. Rob Wilkins, I think he's the PA. Bear in mind, I recently read basically a collection of Terry Pratchett's non-fiction commentary, and basically it's like he had a book on his shelf which was literally a compendium of the knowledge of everything that he always found useful, and basically was his go-to for any sort of information. It was like a mini encyclopedia of obscure facts. And Terry Pratchett has always been my favourite author. And Ishush. Lots of people have said it, not just me, but if there was any such thing as a wizard in the real world, that's a wizard as defined by, as part of Discworld. It's not just about magic, but they're basically the academics and the scientists of the fantasy world. You know, it would have been Terry Pratchett. And what's interesting, I mean, is that basically by today's standards, and although I'm not sure whether he'd agree with me on this, but not that he can now that he's passed away, God bless him. You know, but I think by today's standards, he would have been considered autistic. High functioning autistic, but autistic, and that would have been. I mean, he had he did a lot of things for as awareness for assisted dying because he had dementia. But I think if he'd have been by today's standards, by the same context, he'd have probably been picked up as having some form of autism. In fact, especially high functioning autism. And as you may know, if you've been following my arena, what sparked a lot of the recent conversation is that I finally got my autism diagnosis, and it is high functioning autism, which I kind of suspected. So, but I only suspected after finding more about autism and the issues through dealing with other people. So yeah, and one of the interesting things, because I mean there's still a lot going on about autism research, and as somebody who generally pays attention to this sort of thing because it falls into a big part of my wheelhouse, is the context that, you know, it's kind of, if you've ever seen Doctor Who, think Matt Smith, one of the episodes, we discover that unlike what previously thought, the Cybermen could never really convert the Doctor because he wasn't human. But under that they actually evolved to the point that they could. So, which surprises the Doctors as he gets converted, but they still have their weakness to gold and whatever. So he kind of, but the bit when he gets converted and the Cyberman actually discovers what it's like to be the Doctor is extremely interesting, because it calls him Mr. Clever. One of the things he notes is a hyperconnective nervous system. Basically, everything is processed faster and quicker and stronger because the nerve cells themselves are hyperconductive. They're more efficient. And what's interesting is that it has been found in autism, or especially like high function, that same hyperconnective kind of nervous system is a result of a gene mutation that is present in people with autism. So it has been surmised to a certain degree that, I mean, that could be a cause of the autism. Which makes sense. The other thing they've discovered is that there is a link between autism and dementia, particularly and that's largely surmised to be, if you're following, because it's like the nervous system is basically the nervous system burns itself out. It's not it provides any sort of thing. It provides earlier, better intelligence when you're younger. That's essentially what it does, if you can have it identified and get support. But it means that you tend to lose that intelligence and struggle a lot in later life. I mean, that is kind of the life story of somebody with autism. Of course, I mean, I know that these links have been found. It might not mean anything. It might not be the case. They might change their mind, but I mean, it kind of confirms what could be best described as some of my fears, based on my experiences. It's like, you know, I do these Let's Plays, and one of the things I notice is that it can be hard sometimes for me to keep track of my words and say things in the right order, even though I should know. Like the intro to Mordor, I've done it so often that it should be second nature by now. Yet, unless I'm concentrating on it, sometimes I screw it up. And I screwed it up in, I believe, this episode, I believe. So it's kind of like, I have noticed this because I'm recording my voice, you know, I've noticed the frequency at which I'm having to stop and think to catch up with what I'm saying is getting worse. I'm noticing the signs of cognitive decline, and part of the background that I got and my training as a signposter is to identify signs of distress and cognitive decline, and to point people to get the support that they need. To kind of, I mean, I can't turn around and diagnose and say, look, you've definitely got Alzheimer's, you've definitely got autism. But I know enough of the signs to say you might want to consider getting a diagnosis. Because that's pretty much the role that I take. I mean, and so I've been noticing it myself whenever, as I've kind of go back to videos and listen to myself. And a lot of the issues got picked up in my autism diagnosis. So yeah, I mean, that is a kind of concern for me. Therefore, it's another reason why I kind of externalize things, and these videos, they help me externalize. I can, especially like Mordor, for example, this is pretty much automatic now. I'm just grinding away. I mean, as long as I keep an idea on my party hit points, I can generally do this bit in my sleep, as it were. So it kind of frees up the cognitive space, and I can use it to externalise issues that I've got on my mind. And quite often, if you've heard me ramble before, I mean, that can be quite stream of consciousness type kind of talk about whatever's on my mind. So yeah. So, I mean, it is interesting because it's like, I mean, I find this stuff fascinating, endlessly fascinating. Because I've always had an interest in how people think and how people learn. And I think a lot of that has come from trying to understand how I think and how I learn, and kind of to understand ways that the sense that it seems different compared, it seems that I think differently. And I've been wanting to kind of confirm that. Which I guess I've sort of done now. I kind of got to that point. What's interesting is that as I've grown up and watched basically the evolution of video games, it's been kind of interesting to note the impact that it's had on how people are learning, what they've been learning to do through it, that sort of thing. I mean, I would initially say that I'm probably I like to consider one of the, well, there's a few like kind of gaming historians and stuff like that, but I think I like to think myself as being a champion for a role of games and how they play in learning. Not just in children, but in lifelong learning. It may just be that's me trying to justify kind of my role in society and try and find my own path. So I mean, one thing I have found is it's hard to focus. When you're kind of good at everything in a certain capacity, and in my case that is like, well, generally good at thinking and at academic and studying and stuff like that. Admittedly, it can take some time if I'm having to remember stuff because I'm hopeless at that, but when it gets around to actually learning things, you know, as long as I can understand the processes and build narratives around them, then I can sort of kind of say that's what it is. Anyway, this episode's gone on quite a bit. It's almost an hour. So this has been Vane doing Let's Play Mordor Depths of Dejenol. If you like what you see in here, be sure to like, subscribe, share and comment. Please be sure to consider sponsoring me on Patreon, and until next time, goodbye.